Hello, I'm Martin Fencka and welcome to the first part of Let's Play Battle Brothers. Battle Brothers is a game made by Overhype Studios and currently it's still in its early access, but today the developers released a beta version of what they call a final patch. So the version of the game we are going to play should be very similar to the final release version of the game. Uh, Battle Brothers is, I'd say, basically a survival game. It has some RPG elements, it has turn-based combat, but in its core, I really think it's a survival game because we are playing a leader of a mercenary band after one fight that went really horribly wrong, and we'll be trying to just survive in the medieval world, trying to rebuild our mercenary group, recruit some new people, get better equipment, build reputation for our company, and if possible make some money along the way, because gold in this game means, I'd say, like everything. We are not only paying our people, but everything we want to get, we need to buy. So yeah, making money is an important part of the process. As I said, the game has RPG element, it has turn-based combat, it can be very grindy, and especially it's challenging and really difficult. Sometimes up to a level it can become frustrating, but that's what I expect from like a good turn-based game. So it has everything I like on the turn-based games. Though at the same time, even though I play the game quite a bit, I have to say, suck at the game. So during this playthrough, you can expect quite a lot of people, most likely on our side, and that's even though I am going to use reloading. I don't want to like heavily rely on reloading, but I still don't know all the details of the game. So if I get into trouble just because I don't know something, or if I just get screwed up because I'm not that good at the game, I will reload, or otherwise you probably wouldn't get anywhere. And that's the same reason why I'm not going to play Iron Man, or I won't be playing on the highest difficulty. Maybe if we just do more playthroughs or something, we can try it at some point, but I want the first Let's Play to last at least some time. Our first step will be starting a new campaign. There really is not that many options that we can choose from early, and even in the game there are not that many things. The game is quite simple, but you don't have to have like hundreds of mechanics and spells to make a good game, and Battle Brothers is really a good example of that. You'll be able to understand most of the mechanics just from watching me play, so I won't be explaining too much, really just some basics, but by not having too many mechanics, the game still stays difficult. There is some RNG element, but it can be quite significantly limited by clever use of the mechanics that we have available. So overall, I have to say it's pretty good game. But we'll get to that once we start the campaign. Here we can't really choose that many things. Company name, I've already chosen the Shadow Company. I'm using that quite often. It's from one movie that I like. Difficulty, I'll go with Veteran. I've been thinking about Expert, but well, I played off camera, but I think there's too much reloading to do that on camera. And I'm definitely not using Iron Man. I mean, for Iron Man, you just have to know the game really, really well, and you can't afford to make any mistakes. One bad fight, and you are so screwed, especially on higher difficulties. So for now, let's just leave it on Veteran, and if everything goes smooth, I mean, we can always just restart and say, okay, we are really good at this, let's play an Expert, and then we will gladly return back to Veteran, most likely. And the last thing, the late game crisis, I actually don't have any experience with this because it's been added in the final patch, but I'd say it somehow affects the late game. There are 3 options that we can choose. War, so probably the final battles and the most difficult battles we'll have to face in the late game will be against humans. With Greenskin invasion, the main enemy will be orcs, and In the Undead Scourge, of course, the final enemy will be Undead. In this game, I really don't like fighting Orcs and Undead. Undead are annoying. Green skin Orcs are really tough. And, well, humans can be tough as well, but they look cool and I really like fighting them. So that's the reason why I'll choose the war as the late game crisis. Doesn't mean that we won't see any Orcs or Undead, just I don't want to have too many of them. And the last thing you can choose is a banner. And there are some really cool banners. I'll quickly just go through some of them. I really like this one. This looks like a Roman Legion. This one is kind of cool as well. This is not bad. And there's one more that I like, but won't choose this one. This really is like a something you would expect from like a crusade or something kind of banner. But I'm going to use this one. I think it fits to the Shadow Company. So that's all that we can just choose before we start the game. So let's hit start, and now the game should explain to us, or we'll have to read through the reasons and what happened that we are starting in such a bad shape. Okay, the last battle. It all went wrong. 2 days ago, the company was hired to track down Bogart the Weasel and his band of raiders, but it was them who found you first. An ambush. Some joke about horses cut short by an arrow to the throat. Arrows shooting in from everywhere and nowhere. Men holler and scream, a great volume before death. As the hail subsides, you draw your weapon with the rest of the men, only to collapse to your knees. An arrow has punctured your side. You shout in pain. A hurried glance sees the man charge without you to make a valiant last stand. Men in force as steel clashes with steel. You meet eyes with the captain, alas not before his throat is cut. You are left in command now of what few men remain. Trembling in pain, you lean on your sword and with all the will you can muster slowly rise again. To the end. Okay, so here our man. This fight and the first like short quest line is partially scripted. So in the first fight, the first two guys always die. Here are our people, here is the enemy. We are playing on a hexagonal grid. No surprises here. 3 on our side, 3 on their side. Turn 1, here is a log. Safe explanatory about center camera means when we're fighting in hills, there are like multiple levels, so these 2 buttons allow us to switch those levels, and hit point bars, quite obvious. Retreat and open menu, nothing important there. Stats of our people I'll talk about in a second, and here we can see the order of battle. It's based on initiative, and every time we get to the end, the game automatically ends the turn and starts a new one. We can wait or end the turn when we don't want to do any action. Everything here is just the basic stuff you see in almost every turn-based game. About our people, and same for the enemies, there are some basic stats that we can see and more detailed stats that we'll check once we are out of the combat. When we check the inventory, for the combat what's relevant, action points, which limit the amount of action that we can do per turn. Then we have fatigue, with basically almost every action we generate some fatigue, so the higher stamina that we have, or here it's like a fatigue limit that we have, the more actions we can do during the combat without being limited by being tired. I mean, if we get a lot of fatigue, it doesn't mean that the character is like done for the combat and can't do anything. We can like rest and reduce it, or we have like a limit or the amount of actions per turn limited if we are very tired. Just, it's good to have higher limit, allows you to stay in the combat for longer before you have to start thinking about resting. Morale, quite self-explanatory. If the battle goes well, morale stays or even goes up. If things go wrong, morale goes down and people can even start fleeing from battle. We lose control over them. It's the same thing. This can happen to our enemies. And there's been some changes in the last patch to morale. So I'm not exactly sure how exactly it works now, or what all the things that affect morale, but I guess we'll find out very soon. Then we have our survivability stats. There are two slots for armor in this game. One is head armor, then is chest, our body armor, and then we have our hit points. The head armor and body armor work like layers of protection. It's not the only protection that we have. Then we can have shields, and then I think we can even like dodge attacks. So the armor works when we get hit. It either prevents our hit points to go down, or at least part of the damage is or the damage is reduced by certain amount by the armor. Depends on if we get hit to head or to body. Some weapons can like penetrate armor, some weapons can do more damage to the armor, and this is a really significant part of the combat, the gear that we are using for our characters, because each weapon that is in the game is specific, has different use, works different versus the armor or versus shields. So there are quite a few like options how you can build up your group and like take advantage of different types of weapons, but we'll get to that later as we start thinking about the gear of our characters. For now, I'll just quickly always mention what the options are with the gear that we have available right now. First is our crossbowman, Thorsten. With the crossbow, we right now have only one action. We can only shoot. Of course, we can move around freely as long as we have enough action points for that. It's like on the basic terrain, it costs 2 action points per tile. If we get into like forest, swamps, snow, stuff like that, the movement becomes more difficult and costs more action points. Every action here can be more than just one, costs action points based on type of action that we have. Right now it's only the shoot bolt with the crossbow, so we'll do that. If you want to know the details of the action, you can just read it in the description. It's quite detailed, so yeah, you can explore all the details just by yourself by pausing the video. You see everything you need to know in the description. We're going to shoot. Now when we mouse over our two targets, two brigand tugs, we can see a chance to hit. They also have the same stats that we have. Here is Bogari the Weasel, but this fight is scripted. He always runs away. We will fight him again later, so we just have to kill these two guys. And here we have a high chance to hit, so let's try it. And we missed. Now we have a second option where we can do reload the crossbow. This is the specific of crossbows. It doesn't cost that much to shoot it, but then it costs ridiculous amount of action points to reload it. It has higher damage than bows, so as everything in this game, it has its advantages, its disadvantages. This is how it works. I like using crossbows early in the game over bows. Later, bows are probably a bit better, but again, it's about what you are against. So yeah, once we get to it later in the game, we will just maybe talk more in detail about if we want to use bow or crossbow. Now, to our melee characters, there is something like zone of control in this game. So if we come closer or close right next to a character, we enter its zone of control. You can even see it in the description, is an opponent zone of control. What that means is once you are in the zone of control, you can't freely just move out of it or move like around the character inside the zone of control. If you leave the zone of if you want to leave the zone of control, the character gets a free attack on you, and if you don't avoid that attack, you take damage, and nothing happens. So it's not like, okay, I want to leave, so I'll take that one attack and I can run away. No, it doesn't work that way. If you don't dodge that attack and don't leave the zone of control because of that and want to try again, there is another free attack. So often when someone panics, you lose control over him and he wants to run away from a zone of control. He just dies by trying to escape and not being able to dodge attack and taking damage repeatedly. It's one of the worst things that can happen in this game when your people panic, try to run away from a zone of control, and they just all die from free attacks. So morale is quite important. Of course, the same things can happen to the opponent. So if we can get some decent perks, special abilities that can affect their morale, we can do the same things to them, force them to run, and even it can happen that they didn't take any damage at all. Their gear is untouched, but they panic and they die in one turn just because we get so many free attacks on them. But again, we'll see that once we get into the situation. Here what we want to do, just get closer to the first guy. Now we can attack him in melee. We have two-handed axes, really good versus shields as the only weapon in the game. It can target shield specifically and do damage only to the shield, and you can destroy the shield. Characters with shields are pretty hard to hit. The shield significantly reduces the chance to hit, and shield doesn't just work like another layer of protection like armor, that part of the damage would be dealt to a shield. Now if you succeed with blocking, you negate all the damage, and maybe shield takes a little bit of damage. There is something like a durability on items in the game, so eventually you lose the shield anyway, but the axe you can just with 1 or 2 hits get rid of the shield, and then it's much easier to attack the character itself. Here we don't have to worry about shield, so the split shield we don't have to use here. Then we have 2 more options. Special attack for an axis round swing that hits all the characters around, including friendly characters. There is the option in the game to hit your own people, especially relevant for ranged characters. If your people stand on the wrong place, on the wrong tile in the line of fire, they can and will get hit. And then we have a single target attack, split man with two-handed axes. That's their like main advantage. They do a lot of damage, though the chance to hit is usually quite low. Now 61% is not too bad here. There we go. That was a nice hit. And I'm not sure about what the effect of the attack that we managed to sever this guy's head. It's either because he managed to get a crit or because it was like a crazy overkill. We did a lot more damage than we needed. They had this effect. Doesn't happen every time like that. I think it's actually a result of a crit, but I'm not sure about that. It's not that relevant for the game. Okay, let's move up. We still have an action point. Oh, can't. We still have 1 action point left, but for for movement we need 2, so the character is still active, but we basically can't do anything, so I'll just end the turn. And the last character that we have available is Gerhard with a spear and shield, and you can see that the actions that we can do are completely different with him. Shield wall, again, you can read the description. For certain action point and fatigue investment, we increase the defenses of the character and people around. Push or knock back. This is pretty good to break the zone of control, because you can't leave the zone of control freely, but if you knock someone back, then you get him out of the zone of control and you can break yourself free that way. So knockback is really quite useful in the game. Then we have a special ability of spear, creating a spear wall. When someone wants to come to our zone of control, when the spear wall is active, we get a free attack on him. And if we succeed, we knock him back. So really good strategy early in the game is create like a wall of people with spears, activate the spear wall on everyone, and whenever anybody wants to come to us, he gets attacked, knocked back, and it can happen multiple times per turn until we basically fail the attack. So what can happen is that some enemies will just kill themselves by trying to get to us, especially the more stupid ones like, I don't know, zombies, skeletons. they just keep trying until they die. So it's a really a useful tool early in the game. And then a single target attack thrust. Again, you can read the description. What I want to do here is just come closer. If I enter the zone of control, I wouldn't have enough hit points for an attack, so there's no point in going there. I'll just make it easier for this guy to attack me next turn. And I'll just use the spear wall. Like this, I'm making it harder for him to come to our zone of control and get a free attack. I'm hoping to kill him before he can do anything to us. Here we have another chance to hit him with the crossbow. Okay, I managed to hit him to the head. You can say that because the top lane here is the damage to helmet. So we hit the helmet. That means we hit the head. And part of the damage, of course, goes to hit points as well. Now, above the character, these tiny icons, those that appeared now, the two red ones, one of that is morale status, as the small flag shows up. That means that the character is starting to panic, so that's a good sign. As the character is panicking, its combat stats should be going down. So even if they are not running, just being close to that helps us as well. And second thing is a wound. Wounds are a big thing in the game because every time we get hit, there is a chance that we get wounded. There is like some threshold when it becomes possible based on how much damage we have taken, and probably also based on what kind of weapon hit us. But there is a chance from almost every attack to take a wound, and there are like crazy amounts of different wounds. In this case, because we managed to hit him in the head with a pretty strong attack, he has grazed eye socket, and each wound has different effects on the character. Some of them are active immediately, some of them can be delayed by some perks and stuff, but most of them are affected or start working immediately, and they just lower the combat performance by reducing damage, making movement more difficult, reducing chance to hit, and like million other things. Our people, of course, can suffer wounds as well, and with wounds, there is a problem that they take some time to heal. It's not like damage. If we just take damage to our hit points without suffering a wound, it heals quite quickly outside of combat, but wounds can take multiple days to heal, and some of the more severe ones can even be permanent, and those are really big problem, and often a character that suffers a permanent wound becomes useless, and you are just better by dismissing it, or with dismissing it. We'll see lots of these later in the game as we start taking damage later, so just explaining what happened there, and later we'll see the details. Okay, let's reload, just in case we need to shoot again on the next turn, and let's try to kill this guy. There we go. Okay. Now, statistics, no level ups for us now, and loot, we managed to get a pickaxe, but pickaxe kinda sucks, so I'm just gonna sell it. And now we can leave. By leaving, we get to a world map, but first we have to read through the aftermath. You're alive. You won. The adrenaline fades, and in its wake, you can't help but sink back to the ground. Gritting your teeth, you snap the arrow's shaft. Your chest heaves, pain for breath, everything blurs. The company has been devastated, cut down to but a few men. And that bastard Hogarth did justice to his name, fleeing like the weasel he is. What now, Captain? A voice says from behind. It's Corey who sits down beside you, bearing his bloodied eggs on his legs. You turn to him to reply, but before you can answer, he continues. Bernhard's dead. They slit his throat. He was a good man and a damn good leader, but all it took was one mistake. That makes you the one in charge now, don't it? Thorsten joins the two of you, still breathing heavily. Then Gerhard. Save the ceremony and anointments for another day. Let's give the man a good burial and return to Sandwich to collect our pay. The Weasel's men are slain after all. Besides, Captain, we ought to see to what wound before we lose you too. Wouldn't want to leave Thorsten in charge, right? So be it. Okay, and now we are on the world map. This is like the real-time part, though we can pause the time. And when we zoom out, you can see it's quite a simple map where the multiple cities on the map, all these banners are just assigned for a city. I can even see names here. And each banner belongs to a faction. It seems that the green guys are winning quite decisively. They own like half the cities. There has been some changes to how the faction works. It represents a faction, each of these three banners, and it seems that green guys are pretty strong. I'm not quite sure how the factions exactly work now. Well, I guess we'll discover as we go through the game. Important thing, just there are 3 factions. I don't think that early in the game they are like enemies of each other. They just are on the map. But I guess with the end game option being wars, we probably will have to choose one later, or based on our relations with this faction, we will become like part 1 action and we'll have to go to war with the others. That's just my guess though. What we can do now by accepting quests from these factions, we can improve our relations with them, and then we see what effects that those relations will have later in the game. Also, we can separately build up relations with each city, and these relations, I'm not exactly sure what they affect. But I guess we should be getting better prices in the cities that we are friendly with. But again, I'm not quite sure about that. I never like really felt the need to do a research how exactly the reputations affect the game, and it wasn't in the game for quite a long time, so I even have to check if it's now implemented or not. When we check the map, what we have here, this is like the status of our company. We'll get to that in a second. Center camera, log camera. We can track people. We'll see like tracks on the map. We can follow them, and here we can disable and enable that, I think. Camp. Faction relations and obituary, that's newly added. Something about fallen people, we can check that. Actually, I can probably hit it now. Oh, it's only like a log of people that we lost and how good they were. Okay, this tracks active quest. We can have only one quest at a time unless they changed it, but I didn't see anything in patch notes about that, so it should be the same, one quest at a time. It just tell us basically where to go and what to do. And here are our resources for the game. Not sure about the ambition, what that exactly means. It's newly added. You have not announced any ambitions for a company to... Okay, so we just have to choose some ambitions and we then have to pursue them with as the whole company. I really don't know how exactly this works. It's new in this patch. And for our resources, the base resource is gold or crowns. So everything we want to do, want to get, we can either get as a loot after fights or we can buy it. Though items in the game are really expensive. It will take a while until we can get like a really good gear. What we'll be spending our crowns on most of the time are these things. We also can find them, but we rarely find enough, especially things like food. So that's one thing. Once we run out of either gold or food, we are screwed. People start leaving us, and that's one of the ways how we can lose that people. We just won't be able to pay or feed our people, or the other option is that we lose the whole company in the fight. Then we have tools and supplies, because there is something like a durability on items. If the durability goes down during the fight, we can repair it outside of the fight, and that's why we need tools. losing tools as we are repairing gear, and they're expensive and we'll need lots and lots of them. It's a huge crown sink. We'll invest a lot of gold into it. Then we have ammunition. This is like a general ammunition. There are two types. One ammunition is here, and then we have like quivers that our characters equip, and they basically, outside of combat, refill their quivers from this like a general stack of ammunition. And then we have medicinal supplies. These we need to treat wounds, not the damage, but actual wounds I talked about during the fight. So that's our resources, and as I said, once again, these two are the crucial ones that can cost us the game. Here, day and night is also a thing here. If we fight during the night, we have shorter vision, our ranged people are less accurate, and also towns during the night are just not shut down. We can enter towns, but shops are closed, and like only pubs are available during the night. And then we have the roster. This is something I want to get back to, and this will be the last explaining part. Here are our character. Here we can create like a battle line, spread our people, create a second line. For now we'll do something like this, but we have to grab some more people before we continue. It's usually like ranged people in the back together with people who have like pikes and pole arms, because they have longer reach. They can be in the back and in the front. Usually want to get people with the shields and things like that, so they can defend the squishies. And here, those stands, if you have people who are seriously wounded and you don't want to have them in like active duty anymore, you can just put them back and they'll rest here until you need them again or until they are healed. Then here's the inventory, as we can just choose the active character. Down here his inventory shows up. You can see slots in the inventory for the chest piece, helmet, then active hand slots and passive hand slots. When we go to our ranged guy, in active slots he has crossbow, and then we can in combat switch to whatever we have here, in this case a dagger. If we don't have anything in the the passive slots, we can't just take items from the inventory. We can only use what we have prepared here. And here we can have, I think at this point, the only thing that we can equip here are like dogs. Because we can have like warhounds, I can chase like archers and stuff, we can release them. I'm not sure if there is anything else that we can actually equip into this slot. So that's inventory here, experience. And now the last thing probably for this video are here the details of the character. This is just the list of actions that we can do with the current gear equipped. Here are some traits of the character. So what do we have? It's important to check our starting trio, what we have. Background companion, that means that it's like the starting character, I think. Bloodthirsty, all kills are fatalities. Okay, so it's called fatalities, those animations where the head flies off and stuff. But I still have to figure out what triggers them. This is actually a cool one. I'm not sure that I've ever seen like fatalities with a pike, and I have a feeling that it probably won't be a head flying off. I'll see about that. And dissatisfied. This is something that we have because of like the starting situation. You can see the description. Anything else? Here we have more stuff. Different is determined. Will start combat at confident morale if permitted by mood. That's good. And strong plus 10% max fatigue. These things can be positive, can be negative. So far we are pretty lucky with what we have. Again, companion survivor has a 90% chance to survive, is struck down and not killed by fatality. That's pretty cool. Superstitious, minus 10% or 10 resolve at morale checks against fear, panic, or mind control effect. This can be a pain in the ass, especially later in the game. So this is like the first clearly negative one. and dissatisfied as everyone else, but as we win a fight or two, this should go away, as long as we don't lose people anymore. And here is like a detailed stats list for all our characters, so let's quickly go through those that we haven't seen yet. Armor and hit points, we have seen those. Action points we know, fatigue we know, morale, resolve. You can read the whole description. Usually it's quite self-explanatory. Initiative. Here we have melee skill and range skill. So this basically says the chance to hit, of course. Melee defense. This has nothing to do with like armor or shield. This just is chance that we dodge attacks, basically. Damage, that's based on our weapon. Effectiveness against armor. Each weapon has like a different effect against armor. So this is shown here. Chance to hit head. Hits to the head are a lot more devastating than hits to the chest, so we want to increase the chance to hit head as much as possible, so that the chance we can see here. And here we have vision, especially important for ranged people, and as I said, it can be affected by like a daytime or rather nighttime, and things like, for example, heavy helmets reduce your vision quite a bit. So that's the last stat. Basically, main reason why your archers really shouldn't have the heaviest helmets. And I think this will be all for today. We are done with the explaining. Maybe what we see in the inventory, we just have some basics. Basic food, the most basic food, just ground grains. And some bandages for basic healing, and we looted the pickaxe. So you can see that we really don't have much. In the next part, we will try to improve that. We are going back to Sandvik, and we'll pick up our reward, because we had a horrible fight, but our goal was to destroy Bogart's like raider group, and we managed to kill all the raiders except the leader, but it still counts as like that we finished the quest successfully. So grab the reward and grab some more quests, try to get more people, get them some gear, and we'll continue in the quest line that in the end allows us to get our revenge on Bogart, and then we are released to the open world. But well, that'll be in the next part. As usual, this is more like an introduction to the Let's Play. But I hope that you liked it, that you're gonna join me for the next part again. And until then, have a good time. Bye bye.